Hi everybody, this is Boogass Reviews, and today I'm going to be doing a review on the NECA TMNT The Last Ronin Ghost Brothers 3-pack. So before we take a look at any of the other turtles, let's go ahead and take a look at Leonardo and his accessories. So first up, Leonardo comes with a set of these grappling hands. Now I'm not going to switch out the hands on all of these Last Ronin figures to show you, because they are all exactly the same. So all of the sculpt and the paint on them is exactly the same. I really thought that each figure would have unique hands, but nope, all of the figures in this pack have the same hands. Up next, he comes with a set of relaxed hands. Up next, he comes with a set of fisted hands. And finally, he comes with his accessory holding hands and swords. And these look really good. I especially love the black wash over top of the blades. I think that looks really good. You get a black wash over everything here, including the gold and the wrappings there to the handle. And he has storage for these on the back of his shell. But the left side does not want to fit the sword, and I'm not sure why. I did try switching the swords. I thought maybe I had the wrong one in there, even though they're the same sculpt. But yeah, it won't go down any further than that. So it does suck that this one won't go down all the way. That looks utterly ridiculous. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at his head sculpt. So taking a look at this head sculpt, I think NECA did a very awesome job at sculpting and painting it. It's cast in this translucent plastic, like most of the figure is, and that looks very awesome. Leonardo has this stern expression on his face, and I think that looks really good. You get some cell shading to the figure. I especially love the colors on this, like the mask and the mask tie back here. That blue just really pops, along with the translucent green that the rest of the figure is cast in. I definitely wish we would have gotten an alternate head sculpt for Leonardo. Well, technically for all of the turtles. I wish we would have gotten an alternate head sculpt for all of the turtles. I think it's in, I want to say issue 5, when the ghosts are arguing with Michelangelo, and they're really angry. So it would have been cool if all the figures would have came with their standard expression, as well as a really angry head sculpt. I think that would have been really cool. But the head sculpts that we do get look nice nonetheless. So taking a look at the rest of the figure, you get a bunch of really awesome sculpted details on this. I believe everything on this figure is brand new, and it looks really good. I especially love how the belt right here is cast in translucent plastic, like you can actually see the sculpt and paint underneath it because of the material it's cast in. You do get some gray paint on there for the buckles. I definitely wish that the sheaths right here would have been cast in translucent plastic as well. It's just cast in solid brown, I think. You do get a black wash that brings the texturing between the sheaths out really nicely, as well as gives it some variation. But on the right one, they just went way too heavy. Not only is it heavier than on the left side, but you get this really bad black splotch right here. And it's actually raised quite a bit. I can actually feel that with my finger. So after this video, I might try scraping that and getting that off. They concentrated the black wash on this one way too much. You also get some really phenomenal sculpt detail to the shell here. All of the sculpt on that looks great. You do get some minor black painted lines. I definitely wish that the in between the pattern right here on his shell would have been painted black. I think that would have looked really good. But it's still sculpted really well. And if you look close, you can actually see some of the details of the figure showing through, since this is done in translucent plastic. If you look closely at his upper half, his skin is textured really well. You get some veins sculpted on there, as well as the black painted on lines. And that looks really good. Looking at the front of the shell, it's painted pretty nicely too. Mine does have this splotch right here. I think it's glue, because the pouch right here is glued down, so I'm pretty sure that's glue right there. It's kind of hard to tell unless you have it in the right light, but you can also feel it because it is raised. So that's a little unfortunate. I was doing some photography with it, and I'm like, what is that? And then I realized that it was glue. If you look closely at the wrappings on his forearm and bicep right here, you can see that it's textured really nicely, on top of having the crisp black line painted on right there. I did notice on the wrist joints and the pins right here, they use solid plastic, which is really good. But the joints right here use translucent plastic, and that scares me a little bit, because translucent joints are known for breaking. Old NECA and McFarlane figures use that, and man, they would break like crazy. I just recently got an old NECA figure that broke because it used that type of joint. So that does scare me. I mean, this figure feels sturdy enough, but in 20 years, is this going to snap if you move it? It's kind of a scary thought, honestly. Looking at the legs, there's not a whole lot of detail on there. You get some minor sculpted details like the muscles right here and the black painted on lines. And that looks really good. I just wish that his legs would have been textured like his arms are. I think that would have looked really cool. You get these free-floating knee pads. It does kind of irritate me that they aren't glued down. Whenever I'm posing the figure around, the knee pads will kind of just shift to the left or the right there, and that is a bit annoying. At least the ankle joints down here also use that solid plastic. It may be a bit distracting to look at, but at least I know that these won't break. And you get some pretty good sculpt detail to the feet right here. You can see a bunch of veins sculpted on the top of his feet, as well as the outline of the toenails. And you also get some sculpt on the bottom of his feet as well. So now, let's go ahead and go over his articulation. So he has a ball-jointed head that can look up all the way. He can look down all the way. He can move his head side to side and around very nicely. And the mask tie moves side to side here. He has shoulders that feel really stiff to move. So they can move out that far. The right side does move out a little more than the left. I did try pushing it a little more, but it feels like I might snap the joint if I do that. He has swivel at the bicep, double jointed elbows. You kind of have to work with it, but you can get them bending in that far. He has wrist swivels that can move all the way around, as well as up and down. You do get a ball jointed diaphragm right here, and it barely moves side to side and around just a little bit. The articulation is pretty hindered right there. He has ball jointed hips that can do a complete split. He can kick forward a little bit. Okay, I guess be careful when you're doing that. Luckily, this is a ball peg, so it'll pop right back in. He can only kick back that far. He has a pretty nice thigh swivel. Let's move these annoying knee pads. Double jointed knees that can only move back that far. Ankles that can move down just a little bit, up all the way, and a nice ankle rocker. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at Raphael. So aside from the multiple hands that I showed off that are universal in this set, he comes with his accessory holding hands and his size. And the size look really good. They have a little bit of black detailing up here, and the handle was painted really nicely. These blades feel really fragile though. Getting these in his hand is actually pretty easy. I'm really happy about that since these blades feel so fragile. And he does have storage on the front of his belt right here for them. And they stay in the belt loops very securely. I was surprised at what a tight fit it is. You can turn him upside down and shake him, and these won't come loose. I guess they will shift a little bit. But yeah, they stay in there really nicely. So now, let's go ahead and take a look at his head sculpt. So taking a look at Raph's head sculpt, another really cool sculpt. I like how his head is more angry than the others. Which, as I said, I definitely wish we would have gotten an angry head for each of the turtles, instead of just the one head sculpt. But it still looks really cool. I will say his mask kind of looks like it's orange to me. Maybe it's just me, but I swear that it looks more orangish than red to me. They also didn't cast this in quite the translucent plastic that this is cast in. I think they did a pretty good job of matching the materials up on Leonardo and Donatello. But yeah, I feel like this looks more like a solid plastic than translucent like the rest of his mask is cast in. Surprisingly, he reuses a lot of parts from Leonardo. You can see that the shells are exactly the same. The lower left arm is the same. You can see all the sculpt and the sculpted on lines are in the exact same spots. As well as the upper left thigh right here. You do get some new sculpted parts for the rest of the figure, like the wrapping that goes from his wrist all the way up to his bicep. It is continued all the way up. And I think that looks really good. Painted really nicely. I like how you can still see the translucent plastic underneath there. Some more really cool sculpt to the back of his shell. I'm a bit annoyed that his belt is glued down crooked though. You can see that it's glued down pretty nicely here on the left side, then it just starts to go downhill on this right side. And if you look, there's actually glue that ran onto his shell up here. You can see where the glossy plastic gets matte right here, and that's because it's raised from the glue. So yeah, the glue ran all over the figures on my set. I don't know if it's like that on all of them, but man, I wish they wouldn't have used so much glue. You get a unique right thigh for this figure because of the wrapping that he has up here. But his feet is a reuse from Donatello. They use the same exact mold for the wrapping right here. I think the paint detail looks pretty good on this. I do feel like some of the gray they painted on a little bit too heavy, because you can actually see the translucent plastic underneath with this, but towards the top it gets way too heavy. You can't really see the translucent plastic underneath like you can on the rest of the figure. And I think it's the same way on the wrappings down here. They went really heavy with the gray paint, so you can't actually tell it's translucent plastic. Like up here, you can tell it's still that translucent plastic, but you can't down here. I think the painted on lines look pretty good for the most part. It's really weird. On the top of the left one, the lines are really thin, and then on the bottom, it's really thick, and vice versa on this left side. I mean, it still looks pretty good, but I feel like they went a little bit too thick with the lines right here compared to how they're sculpted on there. So going over his articulation, he has a ball-jointed head that can't look up at all. It can't look down at all. The mask tie does move side to side very slightly. Because of the way it's sculpted, you're not going to get as much movement out of it. The joints feel really stiff on this figure. His arms can only move out that far, which is really weird because the figure, at least the torso right here, is exactly the same as the other turtles. He has a swivel at the bicep, double jointed elbows that can only bend in that far, swivel wrists that can move all the way around and up and down very nicely, a ball-jointed diaphragm that is pretty hindered just like the rest of the turtles, ball-jointed hips that can do a complete split. He can kick forward very slightly on both sides, back pretty nicely on both sides, a really nice thigh swivel, double-jointed knees that can only move back that far. They are pretty hindered because of this knee pad right here. Also moves side to side very slightly. Ankles that can move down all the way, up all the way, and a nice ankle rocker. So now let's go ahead and take a look at the final figure in this set, Donatello. So aside from all of the multiple hands that Donatello comes with, he of course comes with his bow staff, and this looks really good. I love the black wash over top of it. It brings the detailing like the wood grain and the wrapping on the handle out really nicely, and it's a pretty thick plastic. It's thicker than on the Lost Years and the regular Donatello figure. That one felt really fragile, but this one feels really sturdy. It doesn't feel like it's going to break getting it into his hands, or even in the holster on the back right here. You can store this pretty nicely on the back of his shell, but the way that this is attached to this strap right here, it feels like it's going to break right off of there, which it does look like it's pegged in so you could glue it back down, but man, this thing feels like it's going to snap if you put too much pressure in it. So if you put this on the back of a shell, definitely be careful of that. So taking a look at Donatello's head sculpt, I absolutely love this head sculpt. I think visually he has the most interesting head sculpt out of this set. You get the goggles there on top of his head. The top piece here is cast in translucent plastic. It looks like they used solid paint for this. Wish it would have been a little bit lighter, that way you could still see the translucent plastic underneath. But it still looks really good. He's got this kind of smirk to his face. I think it looks really good, the mask tie back here too. It looks really windswept. So yeah, I think he has the coolest head sculpt out of this set. It just looks really awesome. So taking a look at the rest of Donatello, he reuses parts from the other turtles. As far as I can tell, the only unique parts on him are the knee pads and the right arm. The right arm is completely new, but the left arm is reused from Leonardo here. The elbow pads are exactly the same. The thighs are the same. You do get new knee pads right there. And he reuses the calf wrappings here from Raphael. And I did actually think that Raphael's looked bigger. I thought that maybe he used some unique parts, but you can see that the sculpt is exactly the same. All of the lines are in the same place. The textures here are exactly the same. You get this little divot right here in the front on both of these. So yeah, he does reuse the calves from this figure, and then he reuses the regular feet from Leonardo. The translucent belt on this figure looks good. I like how you can see the sculpt and paint underneath right here. Though on the back, they glued this one completely wrong. You can see that the right side is really straight, and it goes extremely downhill on the left side. I'm not sure why they did the same thing that they did with Raphael on this one. Would have been cool if they would have glued this down in the right place. You get some nice black painted lines right here on the elbow pads, but you don't get any sort of black paint here on the front. I think it would have been cool if they would have filled in these divots right here with black paint. I think that would have looked really nice, especially since they painted the black lines right here on the straps. So now, let's go ahead and go over his articulation. So Donatello has a ball-jointed head that can look up all the way. He can look down all the way. He can move his head side to side and around very nicely, and his mask tie swivels just about all the way around. It does move left and right really nicely. The shoulders on this one, they still kind of make that clicky noise, but they can move out that far. He has double jointed elbows that can actually bend in just about all the way. Swivel wrists that can move all the way around and up and down really nicely. A ball jointed diaphragm that, just like on the other turtles, doesn't work that well. He has ball jointed hips that can just about do a complete split. He can kick forward very slightly, back all the way. A really nice thigh swivel. Double jointed knees that can only move back that far. Ankles that can move down just a little bit, up all the way, and a nice ankle rocker. So now, let's do some size comparisons. So here the ghosty turtles are next to the regular counterparts, and I'm really surprised that NECA didn't try to match up the scales a little bit better. These regular turtles from this line, they are much smaller than this new Ghost Brothers 3-pack. They're really tiny next to these other turtles. Here they are next to their Night Watcher counterparts. Of course, Raphael doesn't have one because he was dead by that point. But yeah, these are also shorter than the new Ghost Brothers 3-pack. I'm really surprised that the sizes didn't match up better on these, considering these are the same character. And finally, here they are next to the last Ronin himself. So overall, I think NECA did a decent job on this set. I think the sculpt of the figures look really good, but I really wish we got more accessories. I mean, we did get 4 sets of hand with each turtle, but there's nothing unique about them. They're exactly the same. You know, the sculpt is exactly the same, the pand-on lines are exactly the same. I wish there would have been more unique parts. I definitely wish we would have gotten alternate head sculpts with this set. I really think this set was missing some head sculpts. You know, have each turtle have their standard expression, and then their angry head sculpts. I think that would have been really cool with this set. I'm also surprised at how much reuse there is between these 3 figures. A lot of the figures share the same parts. I mean, you do get an occasional unique part here and there, but for the most part they do reuse a lot of parts from each other. I really thought Raph in particular would have a unique shell, but no, even their shells are exactly the same. I feel like this set is kind of just middle of the road for me. You know, it's not a bad pack by any means, I'm not saying that it's bad, but for me I'm just a little bit let down by it, especially considering the cost. You know, this is a very pricey set since it is a 3-pack. So, that's my review. If you like this review, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.